שלום למי שמצטרף, אנחנו ברחבת עיריית ונקובר היום, עדיין 100 חטופים נמצאים בשבי חמאס, וזאת העצרת למען השבת החטופים.
Let's put this chair here and oops. Yeah.
Okay, up on this side?
Well, over there probably. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Vocal or speaker in here.
Oh, yeah. So, I don't know if she's gonna actually bring her violin out. I don't know. In the meanwhile, I'm just gonna wing it. She was gonna give me my notes, and I probably started the wrong note, but it is what it is.
Improvise.
Yeah, improvise.
Just bring the violin. We're ready.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, she's not gonna play right now. The violin itself. She's got to bring the case out. No. The case. Okay, Mom. So, okay, so do you want to sit here or sit here? And where should this be? There. And you'll sit here. All right. All right. So, I know.
Special chair for you.
Yeah. So, she's got to get her violin out of the way. Thank you. Yeah.
Ari's also
Hold on a
wearing
sec.
Oh. Wait a minute. Lean into the. Okay, no, my bad. This one. He's also wearing.
And the chin rest, Mom, where's that? All right. So now we can close all this. I don't want the, yeah. Oh. Yep. Thank you for coming. Oh. Now I know I recognize you. So Mom, you so good. I CJ events in Oxford. Oh, okay, yeah. You lived in Jerusalem for a while.
Oh, 40 years.
For a while. 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was your name?
All right.
Is your mom going?
Merla.
Merla. Is it Merla Walker?
Yes, she can speak in
I
here.
remember you
And my
years
dad's
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She can speak.
Remember the story about your hand and the
Yeah,
piano?
yeah.
Your book. I read it when I was a young boy.
Oh, wow.
We're gonna have two others.
Very, very long time.
Okay.
Dad,
When I lived in
Good
Jerusalem,
to see you.
I'll get them.
high street next to the building,
While she's speaking, I'll go get them.
well, I'm
But yes, I'm going to be speaking ever for 5 minutes. Yeah.
Do you have enough to say?
Yes, she
You
does.
want to try to bring your violin up?
One. We'll be starting.
This is a bird.
It's a. You know, I always say, think of what they're going through. So this is like easy, right? Okay. We will be starting in 5, maybe less minutes, like 4, maybe 5, maybe 3. You made it. We cover the tent, so if you want to come to the center, and of course you're always welcome to hold the flags and the signs.
Merla, do you want to just try a little bit and I'll just get you a level on you?
Whoa.
This is just practice trying it out. Are your hands cold?
Yes.
Pardon me?
Just a tiny bit more.
Okay.
I can't believe running into you after all these years. That's so funny.
So this is the vocals.
This will be for talking, singing,
Yeah.
whatever.
All right.
If you'd like to start, we can start. Would you like to start with the song?
Sure, sure. All right. So I'll sing, yeah.
You can come this way.
Maybe it's better. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so let me just tell them that we start.
Headquarters, story.
Okay.
Try to order better weather.
Yeah. Whoa. Yes. Hello, everyone. איזה כבוד גדול להיות פה. What an honor to be here. I'm Israel Chai. So I'm going to sing for you a couple of songs, starting off with the song I'm sure you all know. My mother is also here with me today, and she's playing the violin and accompanying me, and my father, we're going to get him out to sing probably "O Canada" if we're lucky. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah. So thank you for coming out. It's certainly a challenge, but then of course, back home in Israel, there's a lot of challenges there too, aren't there? So really, this is not much in comparison. All right. So I said, is that the right one? Okay. כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד, כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד. והעיקר, לא לפחד, לא לפחד כלל, והעיקר, לא לפחד כלל. The whole wide world is a very narrow bridge, a very narrow bridge, a very narrow bridge. The whole wide world is a very narrow bridge, a very narrow bridge. But the main thing to recall is to have no fear at all. But the main thing to recall is to have no fear at all. Lay, 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 לא לפחד כלל. תודה רבה. Okay. Now my mother is going to play a very famous song. I'm sure. Oh, I can't hear? Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. So maybe be a little closer there?
No, she's fine.
She's okay, just me, okay. So she's going to play Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, Jerusalem of Gold.
Thank One. Thank you so much. I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered today on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, including the territories of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Hostage families mark Hanukkah emotional Tel Aviv rally. This is the time for a comparative deal. There is no other time because they are wasting away there in the tunnels. Last night, marking 449 days, today is 450 days since their loved ones were taken hostage by Hamas, and the fourth night of Hanukkah, today is the fifth. Family gathered at Hostage Square in a moving demonstration with one clear demand: a comprehensive deal to bring all hostages home. The event began with Hamas captivity survivor Yocheved Lifshitz and her son Izar lighting the fourth candle of Hanukkah. The crowd then observed a minute of silence in memory of Hannah Katzir, a recently deceased captivity survivor. Hamas captivity survivor Yocheved Lifshitz, wife of hostage Oded Lifted. This is what she says. The 449 days that have passed feel like one long painful day until all our hostages return. Let us observe a minute of silence in memory of Hannah. Her husband Rami and her son Eldad were murdered in Hamas captivity along with 30 other hostages. Hamas captivity survivor Raz Ben Ami, wife of hostage Ohad Ben Ami. On Wednesday, we marked your birthday without you. So many people came to show their love for you, which only intensified any pain. A pain that pierces through my bones because where you are now cannot feel all this love. In that dark, cold, and black place where you're surrounded by people watching your every move. You can't feel all this love you so deserve. I miss you in a way that cannot be described, a pain that floods my entire being every moment. You are my best friend, and every morning that you're not here takes me back to that 7th of October, to the anxiety, fear, and moments of terror from that day. I need you here. Elah Ben Ami, daughter of hostage Ohad Ben Ami. This is what she says. Usually at this hour, we would be watching the Hanukkah candles burn together, embraced on the sofa, blessing the miracle of family. Instead of seeing my father blessing the candles now, I stand here tonight pleading for his life. On October 7th, our world collapsed, our home was destroyed, and our security vanished as if it never existed. There's a deal on the table, a deal that could bring my father back to me. We cannot let it fall through. Prime Minister, Cabinet, this is the time for a brave decision. A decision that will bring light to our country in such dark days. A decision that will unite 100 families, whether in embraces or in closure with a proper grave to mourn over. This is the time for a comprehensive deal. This is no other time because they are wasting away there in the tunnels. And the last hostage, the last son of hostage, Gadi Moses, Yair Moses. This week we said goodbye to Hannah Katzir, a dear woman who returned from captivity after 49 days, and her warm and sweet heart like the tea she used to make for the kibbutz children that broke again since October 7th. Until it could no longer bear, it fell silent. May her memory be blessed. I'm tired of people not understanding that hostages are wasting away in Hamas tunnels, their physical and mental health deteriorating to depths from which they may never return. I'm tired of not seeing my father, Gadi Moses, for 449 days, which is more than 14 months, not knowing how he is and what condition he's being held, not knowing if he's even alive. I'm tired of starting another round of Jewish holidays without them with us. Bring them home now. And I would like to introduce our first speaker. Marla Watson, I'll introduce them both. Merv and Marla Watson are Canadian professional musicians since 1962. They became pro-Israel activists, resulting in greatly advancing Jewish-Christian relations. Having done Hasbara in over 45 countries and moving to Israel in 1976 with their 3 children, they have 3 Israeli grandchildren today. Merv is an accomplished tenor, visual artist, and music teacher, has taught band at Jewish Hebrew schools in Toronto. Marla is an accomplished violinist and a composer of over 600 songs. Both Merv and Marla founded the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem in 1980, spreading now to 170 nations worldwide. Its sole mandate is to gather support for Israel. It has brought in hundreds of millions of dollars to Israel's economy and fights anti-Semitism. Please.
Thank you so much. It's a great honor for me to be here today. I'm 87 years old, and I'm still clinging on to my love for Israel, no matter what. And I began music lessons when I was 2 years old and 9 months. I don't even remember when I started. And then most of my teachers, my music teachers at the Royal Conservatory in Toronto were Jewish. And I can remember my dad, during the last World War, pulled me into the living room and he said, "Look at this picture." And it was in a newspaper and it showed horrible things that were happening. And I said, "Daddy, what's this?" And he says, "These are God's people and we must defend them." And I just couldn't believe, but a seed entered my heart that day. Forever it will be. And when we went to Israel the first time in '76, when that plane landed in the airport, I thought my heart was going to burst. I'm not Jewish. I'm from Swiss Mennonite extraction. And I couldn't believe what was coming out of my mouth. I said to my husband, "Honey, I think I'm coming home." And I still feel that. When I'm not there, I'm not at home. It's beautiful here, the mountains and everything else. But to be there, it would be my heart's desire. I have 2 grandchildren, not 3. I think that was promissory. But Yali and Ori. And Yali now is 14 years old, and he's very well known in Israel because he's a professional singer and dancer. And so he's just completed a show called Peter Pan, and he was involved in that. And Ori is more into gymnastics. But there they are, and when I think of Israel, I think of them and how they are doing. Our youngest son, Ariel, he is involved in a big business type of thing there now and writes columns and stuff for that business. And I can just say that it is an honor to defend that wonderful land and that wonderful people. We would get in the most fabulous conversations at a very high level. They are very intelligent people, and they know so much about what's happening in the world and what has happened and what will happen. And so, to me, it's like I'm lost when I'm not there. It is so important, and I'm trying very hard, and so is my husband, to tell other people who are not Jewish that it is for their good that they defend this land. And in 1980, we established the International Christian Embassy. When all the other embassies were leaving Jerusalem, we put one in. And this represented people who are not Jewish from all over the world who just love Israel. And then we established the Sukkot, which is the Feast of Tabernacles, and the Israelis would come to that, and it was a very big thing with full costumes every night and big, singers and dancers and the whole thing, a very colorful spectacle. And we're not there for that now, but That's okay. It's coming along. So anyway, so I mean, I could talk for hours, but I won't. So what is it you would like? Okay. Bless you.
Thank you so much. It's our honor to have you here with us. I would like to call on our next speaker.
My father's coming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He got scared because of the rain.
Don't blame him.
No, I really got him.
Want to help him outside?
How did you persuade him to come out?
Anybody else? I'm going out.
You made it, right?
No.
Wow. Well, we were in Israel for about 40 years. Isaiah 41, comfort you people, to speak tenderly to the heart of Jerusalem. And so we were able to do several very significant things on behalf of Christians and Jews, and others that were sympathetic. And so they marketed a t-shirt in Israel, and it's got 5 empires listed who are all dedicated to destroying Israel or destroying the Jews. And in this side, you have the Jews. And what happened was all those empires have disappeared. And all of them were intent to destroy Israel, just like the Holocaust did. And so we've lived in a day where these mighty miracles have happened. There's been a number of miracles happen in the war that just is still going on. Very exciting, because there's one factor that unless you know history, and Israel has a 3,500-year-old narrative of their life, and they're going on. Very exciting, like a light to be. So this t-shirt is significant because all those empires are gone. And Israel is one of the keys to our future as a world right now. Very exciting. And down through the years, I've spent a lot of time teaching at the Hebrew schools and at other locations, because that's God's second hand is Israel. If you don't know history, you don't know what's going on. But the history that's happening right now, you want to live in biblical days, you're in them. Right now, the power of the Bible and the prophecies that are coming past every doggone day shows us that there's one factor that if you don't read history, you don't realize God is the factor. And God's promised to protect the land. So as empires come and go, they remain. So it's a hope we all have that the heavenly is involved. And we thank God for that. So thanks for coming out. It's marvelous to see you all. I was a little hesitant to speak, but we're living in fabulous days. And the Bible's coming true and truer every day. So read more of it because there's more coming. Bigger things are on the way. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Not now. Okay. Well, let's take them back then. Yes. Mom, can you hand me the keys? Hand me the keys. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's go this way. I'm going to take you back to the car.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you all for coming, rain or shine, we're here till they're back, right? I'd like to call our next speaker, Ron Stackley is a graduate student in clinical psychology at Fielding Graduate University. After 15 years working as a technical project manager in IT and software engineering, he is a co-founder of Thrive Professional Society, a nonprofit dedicated to helping newcomers build professional lives in Canada. Please, Ron.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because they tell people can't see your face if you want to.
Oh, that's all right. Thank you. Hi. So, thank you for the invitation to speak. I felt compelled to speak because I came back to academia after 15 years in industry and was shocked to find the level of dehumanization that has occurred, how we've been dehumanized and othered within academia, even within disciplines like psychology and counseling. I've had many conversations with people about how I should give up because I'm a Jew and I won't be welcome in the discipline and in psychology in general. And I've had professors, I've seen emails from professors where they have openly praised the murder of Jews in Israel. And it has been shocking and disturbing to reconcile that with the values of our profession and of our ethics. And I've asked myself now for a year how people can get there, how they can rationalize it. And as I have gone into classes and I've witnessed group discussions and things like that, there is an ideology and a way of othering Jews and Israelis as settler colonialists, and a way of devaluing their lives and devaluing their humanity. And as I think about these rallies, and I think about why we have them, the hostages matter. The hostages are very important and their memory matters. But they also represent our collective humanity. They represent the value that every individual life has. That people are not simply reduced to their groups. They're not simply group labels. Someone isn't white or BIPOC or First Nations. Those categories matter, but they don't define people. They don't sum the totality of their humanity. And so every sign where you have a picture, I see this sign, Keith Samuel, 64 years old, Israeli American. He's a person. He's not a category. He's not a census checkbox. He's a person who's currently a hostage. And so these rallies that you guys have, they're so important because they're reinforcing the humanity. They're the antidote to the dehumanization that has happened to Jews in academia and in universities. Because they force people to look at the picture of someone whose life is essentially being stolen from them and reflect that it's not just a checkbox, it's not just a category, and that it's not just an ideology. So thank you. Thank you for holding these rallies. Thank you for keeping these people's memories alive and for reminding all of us that we're all human and we all matter. Thank you.
I'd like to call our next speaker. This is high for me. Zach Siegel is seeking the Conservative Party of Canada's nomination for Richmond Centre Marpole. Zach was born and raised here, and his family have been part of Vancouver's Jewish community for over 100 years. He worked in the Harper government and was the Conservative candidate in Vancouver Granville in 2019.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Hug Samantha, everyone. As Daphne mentioned, I am running for office here in Canada, and I'm of course Jewish, and I would be standing here today regardless of what my religion is, because I'm a Canadian. And as a Canadian, and as all Canadians, we share the same values. We value liberty, democracy, human rights. We're part of the Western civilization. And for that reason, I would always stand with Israel. Israel is on the front lines defending against the same forces that Canada and the United States and the Western world are fighting against. And that is why we should stand with Israel. As Israel tackles Hamas and Hezbollah and the Iranian regime, we should remember this is the same regime intimidating Iranian Canadians here in Canada. They are spied on, they're intimidated, they are threatened here, and Canada and Israel are fighting the same fight. It's important to acknowledge that everyone here has gathered here for 14 months, and they've gathered here peacefully, with peacefully being the key word, calling for the release of innocent hostages held in a Hamas hell for 14 months. There's a stark contrast with some of the darker elements on the other side of the anti-Israel side and the pro-Palestinian movement. As you stand here in the rain, peacefully calling for their release, we have seen horrific images across Canada of so-called pro-Palestinian anti-Israel people rioting and looting, targeting Jewish businesses, intimidating Jewish Canadians, firebombing a synagogue only a few blocks from here. The contrast could not be more stark. The same art gallery downtown where a soon-to-be listed terrorist organization member was calling for genocide, calling for death to Canada, our community gathered last week and lit the first Hanukkah candles. And as we always do, we prayed for peace. What has happened to our country? What has happened to our country? As conflicts of all forms rage around the world, Jews continue to be the only group targeted for a conflict where they do not even live. When innocent Jews are attacked in Canada over Israel, how could that not be considered anti-Semitic? When so many politicians stand by in silence and watch as the Jewish community is terrorized in the streets of Montreal and Toronto and right here in Vancouver, how could this be anything other than anti-Semitism? We should call a spade a spade. In the same way that the conflict in Israel is not a conflict over land, but a conflict over the existence of Israel, if we listen to what the rioters say here, this is not simply a dispute over the conduct of Israel, but a dispute over the existence of Jewish people in Canada. You know, as Daphne mentioned, my family's proudly been in British Columbia for nearly 120 years. And like so many people of their generation, they experienced adversity and anti-Semitism and prejudice, yet they persevered. My grandfather, like so many people at the time, his first medical school application was denied because they had reached their Jewish quota at McGill. Yet only a few years later, he volunteered to serve in the Canadian Army and served proudly in Korea. It's unbelievable that people at the time facing adversity and anti-Semitism still believed so much in Canada as to volunteer for our armed forces, despite what they were experiencing here at home. And I believe that was because people still believed in the promise and hope of Canada, that there was always the hope of a better tomorrow, despite how grim things would be. And as we see the horrific images out of Montreal and Toronto and here as well, the completely violent acts, while politicians remain silent or muddy the waters or play hide the ball and deny it, I think for the first time in our history, Jewish Canadians are wondering if there is a better tomorrow, if they still have the same hope that people like my grandparents had. I think it's so important to stay involved and to continue to be here every week, because this was once the greatest country in the world, and it will be again. And Jewish people helped proudly build this country, and we will once again rebuild it. So thank you for your work and your advocacy, and thank you to Daphne for being here every weekend in the bitter cold. Thank you very much. Hutzpah.
I'd like to call our last speaker, our very known Rabbi Bergman.
Thank you, Daphne, and to all the previous speakers. And if you happen to live in Richmond and you're part of Zach's constituency and so inclined, he does not have the candidacy yet, so you need to sign up if you think that's something you want to do. Democracy is a messy business, and it involves involvement. The Democrats learned that lesson a few weeks ago. While they were knocking on doors, for every door they knocked on, the Republicans had 5,000 individuals that they had signed up through social media. It's involvement, and thank you, Zach. And thank you to the non-Jews who are here. We hear you. We appreciate you more than you know. A couple of hours ago, former President of the United States died at the age of 100, Jimmy Carter. And like anything and everything in Jewish life, it's never all one or the other. I'm going to be interested to hear what Ken Stein has to say as he reminisces about Jimmy Carter. Ken Stein was the first executive director of the Carter Center and ended up resigning after comments were made by Carter about Israel. But there's something that I am eternally indebted for Jimmy Carter. And let's not forget, he's the one who brought two of my heroes together at Camp David. And where al-Sadat, alav shalom, may he rest in peace, and the Prime Minister of Israel at the time as well, may he rest in peace, Menachem Begin. And the stories are told at Camp David, the yelling and the screaming that went on while the Israeli and Egyptian detail were outside playing soccer, football. And the story is told that at one point Sadat said to Begin, "Are we going to allow our grandchildren to be killing each other?" And that stopped the conversation cold, where Begin turned to Sadat and said, "No." And that peace agreement is still in effect today. It's not always a warm peace, but it's a peace agreement nonetheless. And we need to give credit where credit is due, because it was Carter who brought those two heroes together. And Sadat knew that when he signed that peace agreement, he was also signing his own death warrant. He knew he ultimately would be assassinated for signing a peace agreement with Israel. Two individuals who started very far on the right came together. Thank you, Mr. Carter. We had a speaker today in academia who asks the question, how is it possible that such inhumanity is shown by supposed humanities? Well, we've got somebody here today, and he's been here most days. And he's one of my favorite authors that I read week in and week out. A non-Jewish gay Zionist by the name of Pat Johnson. And I want to tell you, you need to read what he says every single time he authors. And please subscribe. It's going to cost you a few shekels. So what? Over 2,000 people are reading what he has to say week in and week out. You need to. You need to do it. And finally, we've done something that I think is unfortunate. We've sanitized Hanukkah. We've made it about candles and sufganiyot and dreidels, and we have forgotten the history. The history that it was a war not only against the Syrian Greeks, but it was also a civil war against those Hellenistic Jews who were ready to give up their own tradition and not fight against Antiochus. And they did. And it was a miserable war. Can you imagine being in the rain and the mud? Well, you can, because you're here. We cannot afford to be fair weather Zionists. Being a Zionist today requires courage. It requires more than wearing a pin or a medal. It requires being there. So when I see that the weather is horrible, I think to myself, what are the hostages enduring at this moment? And by the way, we had a last report of the complete and total inhumanity as to what has happened and is happening to them. This is not a time to think about our comfort. This is a time to let Israel know we are there. We are there in the midst of the mud and the rain and the cold. We're there again in the midst of the anti-Semitism that we see day in and day out in our own Canadian society, in our politics, in our universities. We need to let Israel know she is not alone, ever. Thank you.
First two songs and then anthem. Or do you like to do the anthem?
No. Okay. Yeah. Because that's how we work before. Okay.
No, it's always end finishing, but that's cool.
One. We're going to change the order a bit. We're going to sing "Oh Canada" now.
Thank you. Love. Thank you. So hang on. Okay. Do you see that?
No. Oh, oh, Canada, our home and native land, through patriot love in awesome command, with glowing hearts we see right, but through no strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Amen. Great. Okay.
Go ahead. Okay, so you're okay to stand there with the umbrella? Are you
Yep.
okay? All right.
Yep.
So just stand over outside with the umbrella.
All right.
All right? There you go. You have your cane? Okay. Okay, I'm going to sing a couple of Hanukkah songs. Please do join in. Really, yeah. Okay. Can you hear me, everybody? Okay. Good. Ma'oz tu Yeshuati Lefana Elishabeya Tikun Tafilati Lefana Elishabeya Azigmor, Beshir, Mizmor, Hanukkah, HaMizbeach. Azigmor, Beshir, Mizmor, Hanukkah, HaMizbeach. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So that. Biyamalel ruot Yisrael lotani Yimne Hen becholo yakum adoel el ha'am Biyamalel ruot Yisrael lotani Yimne Hen becholo yakum adoel el ha'am Shema Bayamim ha'em b'zman hazeh Makabi Moshiach ufodeh Uvyamenu kol am Yisrael Mitachat yakum lehigael
Great.
Okay, so we're starting, I think, on G. G.
Oh.
All right. Yeah. Okay, if you join me in the Israel national anthem. Nefesh Yehudi Oviya Ulvavai Mizrach Kadima Ayin Letzion Sofiya Tikvatenu Hatikva Shnot Alpayim להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון ירושלים להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון ירושלים.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sorry you couldn't predict the better weather. I appreciate you coming. I understand how difficult it is. And I want to thank everyone else for coming, standing in the rain. Can't imagine what they're going through because it's winter also in Gaza. I want to thank all the volunteers, Jesse, Gideon and Benata, Ari, Sarah, everyone's coming here. We always need more volunteers. And Sheila, driver. We need people to help us bring the equipment here, and also Gadi's here, bring the equipment here, bring it back to the synagogue. And let's hope miracles do happen. We will be here again, either to celebrate or not, next Sunday at 2 p.m. And again, I have a few menorahs, still 3 left. It all is donation to the hostage families. If you still want a special one from Bring Them Home Now, come see me now. And that is it. And this is the 60. Next week will be 15 month, 5th of January. Next week location is here. Next week location is here, City Hall. Thank you.
You know what time we are.
First of all, I want to get Dad back to the car and then I'll get you, okay?
I can help her with her violin.
Oh, good, okay.
You can all help.
Thank you, definitely.
Sorry for your patience. I mean, I can't say sorry, it's the weather. What can I say?
No, exactly.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
אני אגיד לו תודה. אומר...
Okay, someone reminded me, I guess the rain sort of made my mind foggy a bit. Bring them home! No! Bring them home! No. Bring them home! Bring them home! Bring them home! 100 hostages! 100 hostages! 100 hostages! Alive now! Alive now! Alive now! All mothers! All mothers! All sisters! All daughters! All families! All grandparents! All brothers! All sons! 100 hostages before it's too late. 100 hostages
Before it's too late.
100 hostages.
Before it's too late.
All mothers.
Before it's too late.
All daughters.
Before it's too late.
All sisters.
Before it's too late.
All brothers.
Before it's too late.
All families.
Before it's too late.
They will never be alone. They will never be alone.
תודה למי שצפה 450 ימים, ישנם 100 חטופים בשבי חמאס. אנחנו מסיימים את העצרת למען השבת החטופים מרחבת עיריית ונקובר.
Fighting for justice, fighting for shalom.